In this report, we examined the owners of three different types of laptop brands. These brands are Dell, HP, and Apple, with Apple being our focal brand. After analyzing the demographic spreads for all brands of Apple, Dell, and HP, we calculated the spreads by taking the difference between the largest and the smallest indices within each demographic. In addition, we selected the top 5 spreads to be our chosen 5 demographics to compare. These are education, household income, age, home value, and occupation. These 5 demographic variables are most useful in market segmentation for Apple MacBooks because they effectively separate buyers from non-buyers. Dell and HP have household income, education, home value, age, and marital status as the demographics with the highest spreads. Apple has household income, age, and home value in common with Dell and HP. However, Apple differs that education and occupation are included in its top demographics with the highest spreads. The MRI index indicates the likelihood compared to the average population that a demographic group adopts certain behavior. Here we are looking at 5 different demographic variables that are most likely to own a MacBook. The following charts that will be shown depict the top 5 demographic variables for MacBook, which are education, household income, age, home value, and occupation. This chart shows the different education levels of consumers who have purchased MacBooks. Consumers who have graduated college and those who attended postgraduate school have indices of 193 and 197. This means that these education levels are 93 and 97% more likely to own MacBooks, both of which are more than double the likelihood of consumers with any other education level. Typically, consumers that have graduated college or attended postgraduate school tend to have jobs with higher paying salaries than those who haven't finished college. With higher salaries, these consumers will have more buying power. The following chart shows the household incomes of MacBook consumers. Consumers with household incomes of $150,000 and above are most likely to own a MacBook. This segment has an index of 187, which means these consumers are 87% more likely to own a MacBook than that of consumers with a household income of less than $150,000. This chart illustrates the indices for MacBook consumers according to age. The consumers that have the highest likelihood to purchase a MacBook are 18 to 24 years old. Their index is 170, which means they are 70% more likely to own a MacBook. From looking at this chart, you will notice a trend. As the consumer's age increases, the likelihood decreases. This is all sensible in the fact that the main market of Apple MacBooks is consumers that are typically in high school and college. This chart shows the indices of consumers' home values. The segment with the highest index is a home value of $500,000 with an index of 171. Consumers that have a home value of $500,000 and above are 71% more likely to own a MacBook. Notice, as home value increases, the likelihood of owning a MacBook also increases. This makes perfect sense because consumers who own higher valued homes tend to have more money to make purchases like this. MacBooks tend to sell at a price for more than its competitors, such as Dell or HP. So, people who have a larger home value will probably have more money to spend on their laptops in their household. The following chart shows the different occupations that are likely to own MacBooks. The occupation with the highest index is a professional and related occupation with an index of 199. This means that consumers with this occupation are 99% more likely to own MacBooks. In addition, consumers with this profession are the largest group of MacBook users. The table shown indicates the highest usage indices within each of Apple's top 5 variables: postgraduate, household income of $150,000 or more, ages 18 to 24, home value of $500,000 or more, and a professional and related occupation. Also depicted in the table are Dell's and HP's indices for the same segments. However, these indices are not Dell and HP's highest usage indices of their demographic variables. This comparison shows how the likelihood of these segments owning Apple, Dell, and HP differ. Apple's indices for the given segments are considerably higher than the indices of the comparison brands. This suggests that more highly educated people with higher income are more likely to own Apple. Dell and HP are more for the budget-conscious consumers, whereas Apple is more of an expensive laptop. Also, people between the ages of 18 to 24 are generally in college, and Apple is a popular laptop among college students. Apple has a promotion for college students every year, offering a discount on laptops and a free printer with the purchase of a laptop. The percent down represents the percentage of Apple's consumers that belong to a given demographic segment. In this case, we have identified the top 5 demographics of our focal product. Apple's 5 demographic variables are education, household income, age, home value, and occupation. Within these demographics, we have identified the segment with the highest percent down, which is a segment that represents the highest percentage of MacBook owners. The following charts illustrate which segments within each demographic represents the highest percentage. For the demographic variable education, the segment with the highest percent down are those who have graduated college or more. This segment has a percent of 52.1. This means that 52.1% of Apple owners have at least a degree or more. For the demographic variable household income, the segment with the highest percent down are those with household income between $75,000 and $149,999, with a percent of 40.6. This means that 40.6% of Apple owners have a household income of $75,000 to $149,999. The segment under the demographic variable age that has the highest percent down are those ages between 25 and 34 with a 26.8% down. This says that 26.8% of Apple owners are ages 25 to 34. The segment under home value with the highest percent down is those with home values of $200,000 to $499,999 with a 34.8% down. This says that 34.8% of Apple MacBook owners have home values of $200,000 to $499,999. Lastly, the segment within the demographic variable of occupation with the highest percent down is those with professional and related occupation with a percent down of 26.6. This means that 26.6% of Apple MacBook owners have a professional or related occupation. When comparing percent downs, Apple overall has higher percents compared to HP and Dell, while both HP and Dell have very close percent downs. The following chart compares the percent downs between Apple, HP, and Dell. There is a smaller percent of both HP and Dell computer owners that have graduated college or more compared to Apple. In this education segment, while 52.1% of Apple MacBook owners have graduated college or more, only 31.6% of HP computer users and 32.5% of Dell computer users have at least graduated college or more. Under the household income segment, there is a slightly lower percent of both HP and Dell computer users with a household income of $75,000 to $149,999. 35.4% of HP computer users and 35.6% of Dell computer users have a household income of $75,000 to $149,999, while 40.6% of Apple MacBook users have the same household income. Under the age segment, 16.6% of HP computer users and 17.9% of Dell computer users are ages 25 to 34. Compared to Apple's percent down of 26.8%, the percent of HP and Dell computer users that are ages 25 to 34 is lower than the percent of Apple MacBook users within that age group. The percent of HP and Dell computer users that have a home value of $200,000 to $499,999 is actually so close and about the same percent as Apple MacBook users. 32.4% and 34.2% of HP and Dell computer users have a home value range of $200,000 to $499,999, while 34.8% of Apple MacBook users have the same home value range. In the last segment of occupation, there is a smaller percent of HP and Dell computer users that have a professional and related occupation compared to Apple. While 26.6% of Apple MacBook users have a professional or related occupation, only 16.3% and 15.8% of HP and Dell computer users have a professional or related occupation. Next we have mass marketing. A mass market describes the largest group of consumers for an industry product. Although we determine the different types of demographics as mass marketing indicates a large percentage down and a medium MRI index. After analyzing the data, we recommended targeting the segments of education of graduating college plus and whites indicated in the table shown. People who have an education graduating college plus has the highest percent down of 52.1% and a medium index of 193. This means that the people in the demographic segments are 93% more likely than the average population of owning Apple MacBooks. Next, we have niche marketing. Niche market provides consumer with products based on their needs as well as targeting a small portion of the same segment population. A small MRI indicator percentage down and a large MRI index indicate a niche market. Through analyzing our data, we recommended targeting an education of postgraduates and consumers who have a home value of $500,000 or more indicated in the chart shown. We targeted postgraduates because this segment has the largest index of 197 and a percentage down of 18.7%. Again, for a niche market, we want the largest index and a small percent down. The media channels with large percent downs and relative medium to high indices, which we recommend for mass marketing, are Food Network Television Channel, People Magazine, and Facebook. When comparing the top 5 cable services with the highest percent down, Food Network is the second highest with 31.6% and has the highest index of 116. This means that all MacBook owners, 31.6%, access the Food Network, and those who access it are 16% more likely to own MacBooks than the average population. Within the top magazines with the highest percent down, People Magazine has the second highest percent of 27.7%. We chose this magazine because it is only 9% lower than the top magazine, yet it has the highest index. These numbers explain that all of MacBook owners, 27.7%, read People magazines, and those who read People magazine are 40% more likely to own MacBooks than the average population. This table compares the top websites within the highest percent down. We chose to recommend Facebook because it has the highest percent down of 64.2 and a medium index of 172. So, of all MacBook owners, 64.2% uses Facebook, and compared to the average population, Facebook users are 72% more likely to own a MacBook. In niche marketing, one should choose a media channel with a high index and low to medium percent down. The index is a more important factor than percent because it shows the likelihood of one that accesses a particular media to own a MacBook over the average population. We can see that the cable service with the highest index is E, entertainment television, with an index of 147. In this case, E also has the highest percent down of 25.2% compared to the top 5 cable service with the highest index. This is the best cable service to choose for niche marketing. The index shows that those who watch E are 47% more likely than the average population to own a MacBook, and the percent down shows that of all MacBook owners, 25.2% watch E. Among magazines, we recommend New York Magazine as a media to niche market. New York Magazine has the highest index of 432 and a percent down of 3.4%. This means that those who read New York Magazine is 332% more likely than the average population to own a MacBook, and of all MacBook owners, 3.4% read the New York Magazine. Although the percent down is very low, niche marketing focuses on the high likelihood of one owning a MacBook. In the following table, we can see that the website Flickr.com has the highest index of 396. This means that those who access Flickr.com are 296% more likely than the average population to own a MacBook. Because Flickr.com has the highest index, we recommend using that media for niche marketing, although it only has a percent down of 7.5%. That concludes our MRI comparison report between Apple, Dell, and HP. Thank you for watching.